Gentlemen, what is going on today? My name is Ryan Mickler, and I am the host and the founder of the Order of Man podcast and movement. I want to welcome you here. I want to welcome you back. Glad you're tuning in. I'm sure at this point, the last couple of weeks have been crazy, specifically in the U.S. on the heels and the back of the U.S. elections. I am recording this podcast on November 4th, and you probably aren't listening to it until November 13th. So we're about a week and a half away from when I actually recorded this podcast. So we'll know a lot more regarding the U.S. elections, but I wanted to have this conversation with you specifically right now, and also in light of me heading out of town for another hunt. I'll be sure to share the details and everything that goes down on an elk hunt that I will be participating in for the next week, but I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss any content. All right, it's my job to give you all the tools, the conversations, the resources, everything that you need to thrive as a man. And today I'm going to talk with you about dealing with after election scenarios. Now, I'm not going to prognosticate on who wins. Actually, I'm going to take that back. I am going to give my prognostication, and we'll see if I'm accurate or if I'm completely off base. So let me give you a quick heads up, just so you know, for some context on where we are with the election. So again, this is the morning of November 4th, the recording of this podcast, 2020. And as of right now, I'm just pulling up some details right here. We've got Joe Biden with 238 electoral votes and Donald Trump with 213. Nevada is not yet called. I think Nevada will probably go blue, and that will go to Biden. Wisconsin is very close. It's leaning blue. Michigan was leaning red, but has since become blue or leaning blue. I think it's got something like 90% of the votes tallied at this point, so that may go blue. And if that goes blue, probably what we're going to see is Biden has won the election if that goes blue. Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia are all leaning red, and it's likely that all of those states will go red, which will, if that's the case, if, again, on Michigan or Wisconsin, I think Wisconsin's very close as well. If either one of those goes blue, if two of those go blue, then it's likely Joe Biden will win the nomination for president. If only one of those goes blue, it's likely that Donald Trump will become president or will stay in presidency. So that's where we're at right now. Now, look, regardless of the outcome, and we'll probably know, I'm sure a lot of these states are very close, so I'm sure over the coming weeks we'll see a lot of lawsuits and litigation, and it might actually be a nightmare. But I thought about what I wanted to share with you today, and regardless of what happens during these elections and the outcome of the elections, the scenarios and the strategies, the 10 strategies I'm going to share with you specifically today are going to be applicable regardless. My prediction is that if Joe Biden does win, we're probably going to see less violence and looting and some of these things that have been happening in the past. And my prediction is that if Donald Trump wins, then we'll see an increased level of violence and looting and rioting and everything else. So regardless, though, we're going to see some very interesting and challenging times. I think America is more divided than it's ever been. And I don't want to politicize this show at all. I'm trying to give you objectively some measures that I think will improve your capacity, will improve your ability to lead your family, your business, your community members, everybody that you're in charge of or have a responsibility for well. So again, what I'm going to share with you today, it doesn't matter. If red wins, great. If blue wins, it doesn't matter. This is all going to apply to your situation. Now, some of these things are intuitive, probably already know. I'm going to go into depth on those. And some of them are counterintuitive. And maybe you might question why I would even be bringing this up. Hopefully I can do a good enough job explaining it. So let's get into it. Number one, and this is very broad. I almost feel like cheating when I say this, but number one is you've just got to take ultimate responsibility for your life and your scenario and your circumstances. Obviously, Jocko Willink has been on the podcast 3 or 4 times now at this point, has talked about extreme ownership, his first book with Leif Babin. It's extreme ownership. It's crucial, guys. It's crucial. And there's going to be a lot of people who blame their circumstances on parties and politics and who won the presidency and what the economy is doing and what COVID is doing. And certainly, let's not beat around the bush. Some of this stuff is absolutely a factor. All right, it's a factor because it impacts your daily life, and it will continue to impact your daily life. It'll impact your your taxes. It will impact legislation. It will impact the culture and climate of this country. So it's going to impact it. But ultimately, I just want you to take responsibility for it, your life. All right. If you are where you are right now, it's because of you. It's not because your wife. It's not because politics. It's not because of the economy. It's not because of COVID. It's not because of this or not because of that. It's because of you. Now, granted, there might be some scenarios and situations that come up on a daily basis and randomly that will play a part. But generally speaking, over long and sustained periods of time, you are exactly where you deserve to be. And if you want to be in a better situation financially, spiritually, emotionally, relationally, with your fitness, then it's up to you to take responsibility for that. So what I would suggest is, regardless of who wins the presidential nomination and the Senate, which is actually pretty close, and it looks like the Democrats will maintain the House, regardless of who wins, take ownership, take responsibility of your life, and know that the overwhelming course and direction of your life will be greatly impacted not by who wins these elections, but by how you perform and how you show up. So adopt and embrace that mindset. Many of you have, and quite frankly, there's a lot of you listening who have not adopted that mindset, and you want to play that victim card. You love that card. That's like your ace in the hole, your trump card, no pun intended, is, man, if I can just lay down that victim card, somebody will come in and swoop down and rescue me and save me from the circumstances that I have created for myself. I know it's hard. I know it's difficult. I know it takes a ding to the ego when you have to admit that maybe you're not as good as you think you are. I certainly have to do that, quite frankly, every single day. And every single time I have to do it, it stings. But this is the only path to growth, is accepting responsibility, owning that responsibility, and then making changes in your life that will enhance and improve your ability to lead yourself and others well. So number one, take ultimate responsibility. Number two, guys, at this point, and this is coming from the background of financial planning that I have, but at this point, it's crucial that you get your financial house in order. I talked about this probably a month or two ago, and the podcast was a Friday Field Notes just like this one, and it was titled Brace for Impact. Brace for Impact. And in that, I had made the suggestion that you ought to pay off debt. And I had a lot of people come back and say, well, that's bad advice, because if everything's going to go to hell in a handbasket, then why would you ever pay off debt? Guys, I don't think we're going to see the demise or collapse of the United States of America, at least not right now, regardless of who wins. I just don't. And this show isn't about fear-mongering. It isn't about sharing just some wild, controversial ideas and things like that. It's just that's not what this show is about. All right, this show is about dealing in reality and making yourself more capable. And I don't think that we're going to see the demise of the U.S. Again, at least not right now. This isn't about conspiracy or anything like that or cover-ups. But I do see us being in a difficult spot financially. And this has been building up over the last 3, 4, 5 decades. And it's only going to get worse as we continue as a country to increase our spending, to put ourselves at the whims and mercy of other countries, and to not become independent as it comes to imports and exports. It's only going to get worse. And it will take a long time, but here's what I would suggest to you, is getting your financial house in order will always serve you. Set money aside, get that debt out from underneath you, sell off some assets, or I would say depreciating assets, get rid of those things, live within your means, save and invest money, broadly diversified portfolios, obviously not all in the US, but broadly diversified so you can maximize your earning potential. But get that financial house in order. Track everything that you're spending, track every dollar that's coming in, learn to make more money so that you can have a higher net worth, set that money aside, get out from under your debt, learn how to manage and deal with taxes. If Biden wins the election, him and Kamala Harris has flat out said that they are going to work to eliminate the tax breaks that Donald Trump has set into motion. That's going to impact you. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, it's only going to impact the wealthy. Well, I want you to be wealthy. I want you to be one of those people. And why wouldn't you want to be one of those people? And even if you're not, there's tax benefits to the tax cuts that have taken place over the past 4 years. And if that's repealed, then it's not going to just impact the wealthy. It's going to impact the middle class, which is where I and most of you happen to fall into. So Yeah, I know it sounds really good on the surface, but trust me, your taxes are going to go up, the dollar is going to weaken, and if you don't have your financial house in order, then you're going to find yourself in a very difficult situation. So brace for that, prepare for that, and get your financial house in order. All right, number 3, this one is counterintuitive. I know some of you guys are going to be like, what in the heck is Ryan talking about? Here's what I'm telling you. Build up your social media presence right now. All right, build up your social media presence right now. I know there's a lot of hubbub and talk about Facebook and Twitter and Instagram that they're censoring posts, and I think some of that is happening. I think I've personally seen that. I'm not gonna dwell on that. I'm not gonna make myself the victim because of it. I'm not gonna drone on and on about it, but that is happening. But in spite of that, we have this powerful, powerful opportunity to connect with and band with and find other men and women who we can rally together towards common objectives and common purposes, whether it's something like Order of Man, what we're doing here, or your political goals and aspirations. But I'm telling you right now that there's probably going to come a point in time for a lot of you who are high achieving where you're going to want to tap into a network of hundreds or thousands, tens of thousands, even millions of individuals that you can call on for political aspirations, which I'll talk about here in a minute, or for business ventures, or just getting a message and an idea and a thought that you have in your mind out to the world where other people can rally behind that thought and that idea and that message. And I think if we can use this powerful medium of social media to be able to connect with like-minded people, we're going to be in a significantly better spot than just sitting around and not utilizing this tool. Now, I remember one of my friends, Matt Jenkins, he introduced me. He didn't introduce me to. He tried to convince me, this was years and years ago, probably 8, 9, 10 years ago, that I needed to be on Facebook. And I was like, man, I have no idea why I would do that. Nobody cares about what I have to say. This is stupid. I don't care what anybody else has to say. And yet here I am, less than a decade later, using social media as a powerful tool and medium to advance our cause and our mission. So I'm glad for social media. I appreciate and am grateful for what social media has afforded me. And I realize it's a tool. It can be used for productive outcomes and it can be used for destruction, but it's how you utilize it and how you use it. So frankly, guys, I know, again, this sounds counterintuitive, and a lot of you guys are like, why do I need social media? Well, the best time to plant a tree is before you need the shade, or the best time to dig a well is before you need the water. We've all heard those adages. So it might be hard for you to wrap your head around the idea of building social media profiles right now, but I'm telling you, I've created so many powerful connections and networks through the medium of social media that have afforded me so many opportunities, that have opened so many doors that I just never would have realized were available had I not worked on building up my social media profile and the influence that comes with it. So guys, build up those social media profiles. It's very, very important. And I wish I could tell you why. I don't know why, specifically for you. I just know that there's a powerful opportunity to build networks here, and you ought to utilize every tool at your disposal. So that's number 3. All right, number 4, guys, I've been talking about this for 6 years. I'm not the pinnacle of this necessarily, but here's what I would suggest to you. Get strong and get fit. Get lean, lose fat, build muscle, develop strength. Anything that you can do to enhance your physical fitness, your wellness, your sleep, your recovery, your strength, your conditioning, your metabolism, anything that you can do is going to spill over and impact other areas in your life. A lot of guys believe that we make these decisions in a vacuum, that if I just go to the gym every day, then I'm going to get strong, but that doesn't necessarily impact other facets of my life. And so what they do is they compartmentalize elements of their life. Here I am at the gym, here I am as a father, here I am at work, here I am in my church calling, here I am with charity, here I am with my kids, here I am with my wife, and we compartmentalize these things. It doesn't work like that, all right? Yes, they may be compartmentalized based on when you spend the time there and how you divvy up your time and attention and resources, but they're all intertwined. And when you develop strength and fitness and lose weight and get in shape, it's going to affect you emotionally and mentally and physically. It's going to affect the way that you show up as a father. And those of you who are dads or at some point will be, I mean, don't you want to be the best father possible? You can't do that if you're 50 pounds overweight. How can I say that? Because I was there. I was quite literally 50 pounds overweight, and I was exhausted when I got home. I had low attention. I had low recovery. My sex drive wasn't nearly what it is today. It just wasn't a good place because I was 50 pounds overweight. You know, I hear from these guys who talk about sleep apnea, and I had that, sleep apnea, and also restless leg syndrome. I don't know if you guys know what this is, but quite literally, I would wear holes in my sheets around my knees and around my ankles. My wife would pull the sheets back and see holes, thinning of the sheets and holes in the sheets because my legs would just twitch and move all night long. And as I started to lose weight, I actually took care of the sleep apnea. I don't have sleep apnea. I don't have restless leg syndrome anymore. That's because I don't have 50 pounds trying to smother me every time I go to sleep and put my head on the pillow. It just doesn't happen. And this is a small example of what could potentially happen for you if you lose the 30 pounds or the 50 pounds or the 150 pounds. If you learn how to sleep, if you learn how to recover, if you get strong, and not to mention the confidence, the boost of confidence that comes with that. And as the boost of confidence comes with that, then you open up new doors and new opportunities that just weren't present to you before. Now, again, how does this tie into dealing with after-election scenarios? Guys, this is a volatile time. This is a volatile time. I mean, people are confused. Others are scared. Many people are going to be angry and frustrated. And you need to be able to rise above it. But if you're not at your peak performance physically, mentally, and emotionally, then how in the world, and financially, like I talked about earlier, how in the world are you going to rise above this? You're absolutely not going to rise above it. You're going to fall into it. And you're going to make yourself a sheep just like the majority of other people. And you're going to look to somebody else and hope that Biden or Trump or whoever it is has some way to rescue you because you're incapable of rescuing yourself. So how do you deal with the after-election scenarios and results, regardless of what they are? This is how. And getting yourself strong and fit is a critical component of that. All right, number 5, you've got to develop self-sufficiency skills. Self-sufficiency skills. Now, again, I'm not here to fearmonger. I'm not here to tell you that the world is going to end. I'm not here to tell you that this is some catastrophic thing, regardless of what happens. It's all going to be okay because there's men and women who are going to make sure that it is. But I will say that the more self-sufficient that you can become, the more sovereign that you are. If you haven't read my book, Sovereignty, which I released 2.5 years ago now, that's wild to think about it, it's been that long, then go pick up a copy of Sovereignty. Because I talk about these issues, that it's important that you don't give power and credibility and authority over to other individuals or organizations or political affiliations, and that you take and maintain that responsibility for yourself. And that means that you need to have food storage. That means you need to know how to hunt. You need to know how to grow food. You need to develop other skills, whether it's mechanical skills or skills around the house, things that you can do on your own so you're not at the mercy of other people. Not that we can't accept a hand up, but we're not going to accept a hand out. Not that we can't embrace somebody who wants to band with us and help us along the journey. We should. We should have the level of humility to realize that other people might know more than us, or they might have a skill set that we aren't familiar with that we can utilize. That's not what I'm suggesting, but I am suggesting that you learn how to do this stuff on your own. And there's people out there. There's people in your communities. There are people in your circles. There's courses and there's programs that are teaching you. My wife, every Wednesday night, because I train Wednesday evenings for jiu-jitsu, so every Wednesday night, she does her own thing, just like I do my own thing, and she usually does a master class. And the last one that she took was, she's done a couple. She did one on gardening, and then she did one on cooking meat specifically and how to smoke meat. Okay, these are all skills that she should be learning to develop, and so should I. You know, she's beekeeping, she's gardening, she's learning how to can, she's learning how to preserve, she's learning how to cook. I'm learning my own things. I'm going to talk about some of that in a minute. And we're all better off for it because we're more self-sufficient and we aren't reliant upon the whims and the mercy of the things that are going on around us. All right, number 6, and I know this is going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. So take it for what it's worth. My suggestion is that you consider moving away from big cities. that you move out of these large cities. I honestly believe, you look, I think these large cities are lost. They are. They're lost. And there's so many people, and they're crammed into a very small area, and they don't have room to spread out, and they don't have room to think about new ideas. And look, I get it. If you like the hustle and the bustle and you want to be in the mix of things, I get it. I completely understand. And maybe it's just personal preference, but there's a lot of you who don't want to be in a big city who feel like you're obligated to be there. You feel like this is where it's happening, this is where it is, this is what I have to do. And so you've been programmed and conditioned to live in these concrete jungles. And quite honestly and frankly, I think it's sucking your soul away from you. That might not be for everybody. Some of you really thrive. One of my sons, my second son, he loves the city. Like, he just comes alive, and you see him light up, and you see the enthusiasm and excitement. So I'm not telling you that everybody needs to move away from the city, but I am suggesting to you that if you feel like you're being just drowned in this sea of degeneracy, in this concrete jungle, that you find a way to move at least into the suburbs, if not even further away, and get more rural. I've noticed in my own personal life that there's a peace and a harmony that comes with being out and being able to spread out and have some land, and knowing your neighbors, but they're not right on top of you. They're, down the road. It's just better. Small towns, peaceful. People seem to really, really care about each other. Yeah, when you get into a small town, everybody knows each other's business, but that can be seen as a negative, but it also can be seen as a positive because people actually care about each other. And we know each other because there aren't 3 million people. There's like 3,000 people. And I would just tell you that we live in an environment, in a culture right now where you can create tremendous opportunities regardless of where you are geographically. That's actually one of the silver linings of this COVID thing, is more and more people are realizing, holy cow, I actually don't need to go into the city. I actually don't need to be present for that meeting. I don't need to be at the center of the industrial universe. That maybe, just maybe, I can actually be more effective outside of it, where I'm free of distractions, where I'm focused on the things that are important, where I'm focused on less, but I go deeper on the things that I am focused on. Guys, there's tremendous opportunity. I know that there's hundreds of thousands of you who are listening who feel like you're obligated to stay in these concrete jungles in these large cities, and you're not. It's sucking the soul out of you. Some of you are meant for the city, and that's great. And I say make the most of it. Utilize the other strategies I'm teaching you today. And there's a large percentage of you who are having your soul sucked out, and you're going to be laying on your deathbed, and you're going to be regretting all the things that you could have done because you felt obligated or compelled to stay in an environment that wasn't serving you and your family well. So at least have a consideration that maybe you ought to move out of the city and get into the suburbs, or even further, get out into the ranches and the farms and the rural communities and get your life back on track. All right, number 7. I think I'm on number 7. Let me just look at this real quick. Yeah, number 7. Run for office. Run for office. Now, I know this is hypocritical for me to say because I have not yet run for office, but I imagine at some point very soon that I will begin to start running for office because I have an obligation. I have a responsibility within the walls of my family and my home, within my business, of course, you guys listening, but also within my community. And that goes well beyond just my immediate neighbors. It goes into my community as a whole. And guys, we can affect real change. I mean, I'm so sick of seeing these politicians who spend 3, 4, 5 decades in office. They haven't added any other value in their lives to anybody else. They're manipulating the system. They're raking us over the coals. They're taking advantage of the people who pay their salaries. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I want honest, hardworking, intelligent, charitable, humble men. Now, I know as I say that, you're going to say, well, these candidates don't epitomize that. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. But there's many of you, and I, for the most part, place myself into that camp, who do epitomize some of those valuable virtues that we here at the Order of Man espouse. And if that's you, I want you to run for office. I will support you. I will promote you. I will help you because we need more fine men running for office, leading their communities, leading their school boards, leading their states, and frankly, leading this country. And I'm going to be throwing my hat in the ring very soon. And I hope that you guys will consider doing that as well, because we can affect change if we're willing to get involved. If we maintain, this distance, this comfortable, complacent distance, and say, I don't want to do that, and that's not for me. I mean, I understand. I do. I mean, who wants to subject themselves to the mercy of what's been happening over the past several years? It's not just the past several years, just politics in general. What hardworking, successful man wants to subject themselves to that? But consider it. Consider that maybe you're the man who can actually make a difference and move the needle in the right direction. All right. Number 8. This is something that we did 2 years ago. So this is our second year. Is I would very seriously consider homeschooling your kids. This goes back to the city thing. I think the soul has been ripped out of cities. I think there's a lot of corruption. I think there's a lot of misinformation. I think there's a lot of misleading and not guiding our children down the path that many of you want your children to walk. You want your kids to be godly. You want your kids to respect other people. You want people to understand, or your children rather, to understand the value of this great nation. You believe that this nation was founded on hope and optimism. And although we haven't always lived up to our ideals, that we've paved the way for literally millions and millions of people who would not have otherwise had the type of freedom and liberty and justice that many of us enjoy. And the United States of America created that. I don't want my kids to hate the country in which they live. I don't want them to have a distorted or warped or nasty perception of how this country was founded. I want them to have an honest assessment and accurate representation of the men and women who sacrificed all that they had to ensure that we were able to, at some point, live up to the ideals that they had declared nearly 250 years ago. Those are the things I want them to learn. I want them to learn to respect the country. I want them to learn to respect God. I want them to learn to respect me. And I don't believe that a school teacher can do it better than I can. Now, inevitably, when I say this, some people will say, well, they're trained. Well, that doesn't mean anything. What are they trained in? They're trained in getting children to recite things, to memorize things, to be good cogs in the wheel. And by the way, if you're a school teacher who's listening, I'm not dissing on you. I'm really not. In fact, if you're an honorable, hardworking, caring school teacher, man or woman, I honor you. I commend you for the work that you're doing. You're in an environment that I can't imagine how difficult it must be, because you want to do good and you want to do right by these children and you want them to thrive and succeed. And so many of these young boys and girls are being raised without fathers and mothers, and you might actually be the only one in their life. And if that's you, then you need to fight the nastiness and the bureaucracy and the ridiculous that's going on in the school systems. You need to stand up. You need to stand for truth and what's right. You need to teach kids how to be strong and tough and resilient. And you shouldn't be doing that for everybody. If you're a parent and you have the capacity to do it, whether it's you or your wife, I think one of you ought to stay home. I really do. I think now, fortunately, we've been in a situation where my wife, since we started having children 12 years ago, she has been a homemaker for the past 12 years. We're very fortunate in that. But we aren't lucky. It isn't just like some convenience that we enjoy. No, I worked my tail off to ensure that was the case. I mean, we ate beans and rice for years because making the mortgage payment was difficult. Or, we had the clunker beater up vehicles because we couldn't afford anything nicer. We never went out because we frankly couldn't afford it. When I had to go on a trip, we questioned whether or not I should go because I didn't have the money to pay for fuel. I made sacrifices. My wife made sacrifices to make this a reality. And our life is better because we're teaching our children the things that they should learn, not the things that they're mandated to. And they're not being programmed and they're not being brainwashed by something I don't agree with. Now, inevitably, when I say that, people will say, well, aren't you brainwashing them? Yeah, I guess technically you could say that's the case, but guess what? That's my responsibility and that's my obligation as the father. I'm supposed to teach them right. Teach them right from wrong. Teach them truth. Teach them the way the world works. That is actually my authority. That is my responsibility. So although you might say, I'm programming my children, right, that's exactly what I'm doing. And that's my job as a father. And for you women who are listening, that is your job as your children's mother. So get after it and stop outsourcing every possible experience and learning opportunity to somebody you don't even know. And instead take that upon your own shoulders and witness the power of teaching your own children how this world works. You can do it. You can do it. You're fully qualified. You can do it. Make it happen. And if you're a school teacher, you stand up against this stuff and you start doing what you know is right. All right, where are we at here? I think we're on number 9. Build up reserves. Number 9, build up reserves. Okay, so I'm talking about cash. I'm talking about food. I'm talking about provisions. I'm talking about firearms and ammunition. Again, a lot of you are going to say, oh, Ryan, this is alarmist stuff. No, it's not. It's just being prepared. All right, and if you never have to dip into your food storage, congratulations. That's a good thing. If you never have to use your firearm to defend yourself, congratulations. I hope that's the case. I pray every night that I don't ever have to use my firearm in defense for somebody breaking in or a violent encounter. I pray every day that I don't have to do that. But you can be damn certain that I'm going to be prepared to do it should that situation arise. And I think we would all, as men, be better off if we learned to build up the reserves that we may need. We might not need it, but we may need. This is insurance, okay? So build up your cash reserves. Start putting money in that safe. Build up the food storage. Build up the firearms. Build up the ammunition. Buy it when it's there and available. Buy non-perishable foods. Set those aside in your cellar or your attic or whatever, and build your resources. We talk about producing. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. we talk about producing. Like, produce. You're capable of producing and providing for more than just yourself and even your immediate family. Like, start producing, and that means stockpiling and putting things away for a rainy day. Cash, provisions, food, the things that you might need. And if you don't need them, okay, good. It still wasn't wasted effort. It was a valuable exercise in restraint, because you're not spending every dollar that you have. And it's a valuable exercise in organization and overabundance. Not overabundance, just abundance, so that you can take care of yourself when things are scarce. And whether that happens in the next 12 months or the next 12 years, at some point, things will be scarce. Something will happen within the country. You'll be laid off. The economy will tank. Something will happen. And I want you to be ready for that day. Again, whether it's in the next 12 days, 12 months, or 12 years. All right, and the last one here, guys, this is very broad again, but leading your family, your neighbors, and your communities well. All right, people are relying upon you. Everybody's scared. They're nervous. They're anxious. They're angry. They're upset. There's a lot of contention and animosity and bitterness going on. And if you incorporate these 9 previous principles that I shared with you, then you are going to be able to lead your family well, because you're not so highly focused on yourself. You're not so wrapped up in barely getting by, but you're thriving and you're excelling and you're learning new skills, and you have your provisions, and you're building confidence because you're getting strong. Well, now you can lead others with clarity and focus, and leave the emotions at the door and not get everybody riled up, and lead them. People are looking to you. Your children, my kids, my 4 kids, I see them. I watch them. They look at me. They watch me. I see them watching me for how I will react and how I will respond to situations. And if I'm wild and crazy and immature and out of control, then guess what? That's what they're learning to do. If I'm not leading my wife with clarity and focus and dignity and respect and honor and steadfastness, she's not going to be as stable as if I was leading with those virtues. If I'm letting certain situations that are beyond my control to get the better of me, and I'm communicating that through my words and thoughts and actions to my teammates or my employees, they're not going to produce. They're going to be scatterbrained, and they're going to be in a worse situation. As a man, it's our job to lead That's why we talk about preside. In fact, it's on my hat somewhere. I think it's one of those. I can't see it. I think it's backwards, but it's right here. Protect, provide, preside. Preside is synonymous with leadership. Lead well. Make yourself capable of leading well. The 9 points that I brought up before will actually help you lead your family, your neighbors, and your community well. It's important, and it's your job. It's your job. Whether you signed up for it or not, you're a man, or at least you should be, or at least you should be working to become one. And if that's the case, then it's your job to lead. When shit hits the fan, a violent encounter, natural disasters, emotional outbursts and responses, or just confusion and pandemonium about what needs to happen, people look to a leader. It could be you, and it could not be you. Make yourself capable of it being you and them looking to you as a beacon and a pillar of strength and stability and leadership. That's your job. That's your calling. All right, guys, let me recap this, and then we'll call it a day. And we'll see. We'll see if I'm right about my predictions, but regardless, it doesn't matter. This is dealing with after-election scenarios, regardless of what happens. So number 1 is take ultimate responsibility. Number 2, get your financial house in order. Number 3, build up your social media presence. I know that one is counterintuitive, but it's important. Number 4, get strong and fit. Number 5, develop self-sufficiency skills. Number 6, move away from large cities. If you feel so inclined, then get out of the city, get into rural areas, and you're going to be more fulfilled. And you might actually be safer. Number 7, run for office. Number 8, consider homeschooling your children if you're in the position to do that. If you're not, work towards it. And then number 9 is build up your reserves. I'm talking about cash, food, ammunition, other provisions. And then number 10 is lead your family, your neighbors, and your community well. Guys, this is like the perfect encapsulation of what we do here at Order of Man. This is what it's all about. And I want you to thrive, and I want you to succeed, because I want that for you, but I also want it for the people who are looking to you, your children, your wife, your kids, your neighbors, your coworkers, your colleagues. They're looking to you. And if they're not looking to you, they should be looking to you. And you can make it so by incorporating these 10 lessons for dealing with after-election scenarios. I hope that helps, guys. Let's stay in touch. Let's continue the conversations on the interwebs, on the socials, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all at Ryan Mickler. Let me know. Maybe I missed some thoughts. Maybe you think I'm off on some of these. But I would love to know what you think. We're also, of course, on YouTube. So if you want to watch the video for this, then you can do that at youtube.com/orderofman. You'll find us. All right, guys. We're out there. We're putting it wherever we can so we can get this message to the masses. And on that note, please leave a rating and review. Please share this episode with somebody who needs to hear it. Again, this is not some sort of fear-mongering that I have going on here. This is very practical and pragmatic information and tips to help you thrive regardless of what the scenario unfolds to be over the next week and a half or so. But we'll know. We'll have a pretty good idea of where we're going from there. All right, guys. That's all I've got. I'll be back next week for another good interview, and let's continue to get after it. Lead well, make these things a critical component of your life, and become the man you are meant to be.